My entitled mother abandoned me when I was a child, refusing to raise me, thus forcing my grandparents to step up and take care of me as a child. But now that she found out that I'm getting married, she has suddenly stepped right back into my life, demanding to be involved in the wedding planning process. And I've honestly never been more frustrated by anybody in my life. Here's what happened. Okay, so for a bit of context, my parents did not raise me. My mother baby trapped my dad, which is definitely not a good start. And short after the announcement, he left. She didn't want me anymore, so my grandparents took me and raised me as their own. She was never a mother to me, and when my grandparents died, we lost contact for 2 years. Fast forward, and I announced my engagement on Facebook, and she called me right afterwards. Now, it's important to know that she's not my Facebook friend, nor does she have my number, so I was so confused. Now, if it's not weird enough, she starts arguing with me that she's upset that I didn't call her first, as she's my mother. She said that a wedding is a big event for a mother and her daughter, and she wanted to be involved. And oh boy, trust me, did she complain about everything. It's a spring wedding, so nature and cottagecore thematics, and the dress code is pastel colors. No brown or gray, black, white, even for me and my fiance. And my menu is mostly vegetarian. I posted pictures of me and my bridesmaids dress shopping, and she called me furious. She said that I owe my sisters the bridesmaid titles, and dress shopping is a thing between a mother and her daughter, and I just ruined her experience. Now, for reference, my sisters are not even on the guest list. And about that, this is a child-free wedding. And she said to me, this is a personal attack against her new family, and that she can't accept that. I replied by saying, okay, well, you guys are not invited anyways. Well, she ignored me, obviously, as my aunt must have shown her the invitation because she called me again. She said that my sisters being neurodivergent would be overwhelmed by an outside wedding, and that I need to have a buttered pasta or a hot dog on my menu or they wouldn't eat. I replied again by saying, I don't care because you guys are not invited. And it was then that I decided to block her. But yet again, she calls me with her boyfriend's phone and tells me that she found a better venue for me. Also, she said that since I'll wear her wedding dress, we need to meet for measurements. Now, for reference, her dress is a big white princess dress with a corset, but I told her that none of that is on the theme and that she needs to stop calling me. Fast forward to recently, and she messaged me on Instagram and said that I need to change my wedding day because this is my date and it will bring misfortune. So I'm honestly just so annoyed at my mom's entitlement because I seriously do not want her showing up at my wedding. Wow, your mom is seriously obnoxious. Not only did she baby trap your dad, but she also didn't want anything to do with you. She literally is the definition of an awful mother. And now that you're getting married and you have this wonderful dream wedding that you're planning, she is suddenly trying to insert herself in the middle of this and acting like you two have some amazing relationship, even though you definitely don't. Like seriously, what is her problem? She's trying to pretend like you had some great upbringing between the two of you, when in reality your own grandparents had to step in as parents and raise you. It is really disgusting the way she's acting, and the way she's literally trying to take over your wedding. I mean, wouldn't you think that she would catch on eventually that you are not inviting her to your wedding, and that she is not going to be there no matter what, meaning that she has no say in what you do or don't do for your wedding? And on that note, in my opinion, it wouldn't be a bad idea to hire some kind of security. I can guarantee you, if she's this obsessive about your wedding, then she will absolutely try to show up and probably crash your wedding. Because based on what you've described, I would not put that past her in the slightest. And I think that definitely is a reality that you need to be prepared for. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My husband of 19 years doesn't trust me and can't get over me kissing another guy 23 years ago, and constantly brings this up anytime we have an argument, and I'm now at such a loss that I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I met my husband when I was 23 years old. We are now 46 and 47. We've been married for 19 years and we have 2 children. The circumstances surrounding the commencement of our relationship are complex. For starters, I was unfaithful. It happened due to me being in a bad place mentally at the time that we met. Now, I'm not using this as an excuse. I was completely in the wrong. I was young and immature, and I wasn't ready for a committed relationship. I wanted to live the single life after being in a long-term relationship since the age of 14, including one that ended very badly. My coping mechanism was denial, and I led a double life for a few weeks in the first few months after we started dating. I flirted with a guy at work and I kissed him 3 times. If guys were interested in me, I teased, teased, but other than the kisses I mentioned earlier, I wasn't intimate with anyone except for my husband. I was 23 and I was stupid. Eventually, I came to my senses and I came clean. My husband and I had fallen for each other hard and very quickly. I wasn't ready for a committed relationship, but I was in love and I wanted to make things right. He initially wanted to break up with me, but I left the decision up to him. He asked me to cut off all contact with the other boys, and so I did exactly that. I even cut off most of my friendships and social circles, just to demonstrate how sorry I was and to help regain his trust. And since then, I have not done a single thing to give him any doubt of my fidelity. I greatly regret my actions and would give anything to repair the hurt I caused my husband. He eventually said he forgave me and we could move on together. We then had a great relationship and married 4 years later. Now, fast forward 23 years, and he still brings up the events of our early relationship whenever we have an argument. He keeps trying to get me to confess that I slept with someone even though I didn't. Our marriage has disintegrated. We have 2 kids with disabilities, so the focus for a long time has been on them. We have no connection and we are not in a happy marriage. I now also have early onset Parkinson's disease, so things are really hard for me. But I still work and I still manage the bulk of the kids' disabilities and the mental load. A year ago at Christmas, he blew up at me and said that he wanted a divorce. He said that I was too controlling and he had had enough. The trigger was me staying up late cooking gingerbread cookies and then tidying up the toy room. Parkinson's keeps me awake at night, so I decided to get some chores done, and that kept him awake. I didn't realize that it was such a problem. The next morning, I was rearranging things in a different way than he wanted, and he just blew up at me. He got completely drunk, ruined the family Christmas, and made a total mess of himself. The past got brought up again, and he wanted revenge. He stole Christmas money that was gifted to me so that he could use it on a lady of the night, if you know what I mean. Now, I stayed calm throughout all of it. I tried to keep him safe and diffuse the situation, despite the hurt that I was feeling. Now, he didn't follow through with wanting to see a lady of the night, and he did return the money the next day. And on that next day, he sobered up and he apologized. He said that he wasn't coping mentally, and he didn't mean what he said. I forgave him and I supported him. He said he would organize marriage counseling, even though he hasn't done that, and stayed sober for about a year. He saw a counselor at work for himself twice, but didn't follow up ongoing sessions. Now he has started drinking again. He doesn't drink to excess, but has a few drinks every night. We haven't been intimate in years and we have no connection. We live parallel lives. He has his own hobbies and enjoyment, and I enjoy the kids and their disabilities, and I try to manage my disability too. But I struggle to find the time due to all my efforts going towards the kids and even him. My disease is so bad that even walking is a challenge, but I push on alone for my kids. I listen to any problems that he has and I offer support. I have lots of problems too, but I don't bring them up. I keep everything inside as I'm afraid to let him in. My home life and my career is in tatters. I am slowly losing everything that once made me who I am. I was in a bad place late last year and I wanted to end things between us. He said he would arrange counseling even though he didn't, and we talked about what we could do to get back on track. But unless I initiate things, they literally just don't happen. I see a counselor on my own to help me deal with my own disability. Myself and the kids have a disability support worker who is single and spends a lot of time supporting our family. On Saturday, my husband invited her around to make kombucha together. I told him that I had to take the kids to the pediatrician and that I wouldn't be home. Well, he still invited her, and she came around while I wasn't home. Then I found a text message from her for his birthday, signed with a kiss emoji. Now, she is close to our family, so this may have been an innocent thing, but I was upset and uncomfortable about these two things, and I told him exactly how I felt. Well, he apologized and then brought up what happened 23 years ago. Again, it happens whenever we fight, or whenever I bring up an issue. He even went through old photo albums to look for evidence of me cheating on him. He didn't find anything as there is nothing to find, and I feel like I've been the perfect wife and have stuck by him and forgiven him on many occasions. But he has still not forgiven me for something I did 23 years ago. He tells me that he loves me, but I don't feel that he does. I think he is staying with me only for the kids and because I take care of everything else in our life. I pay all the bills, I organize all the medical care for our kids, the school administration, the calendar, all the paperwork, etc. And I do this while holding down a job and dealing with a worsening disability. I'm so exhausted by all of this. So seriously, can we ever recover from this? If he can't trust me now, will he ever trust me again? What should I do? Your husband is a massive piece of garbage, and the way he's treating you is completely inappropriate. You're telling me this guy has seriously held a grudge for 23 years? years? Like, my God, this guy just can't let anything go. And it's evidence that he clearly didn't forgive you back in the day when this first came out. And here's the thing, you recognize that you made a mistake. You were 23 years old and you were very stupid. You admit that yourself. So you would think that your husband would come to some kind of conclusion that you really are sorry and you are trying to move on from that. But instead, after 23 years, he still brings this up as if it happened yesterday. And it makes me think, like, buddy, what is wrong with you? If it really bothers you that much, and it's been bothering you for literally over 2 decades, then why on earth did you welcome her back into your life? Why not just break it off right then and there and move on and find somebody else? This is all so incredibly inappropriate, and it is not fair for you in the slightest, because you really have done all you can to make up for you being unfaithful. But even still, after 23 years, it is literally still not enough. Am I the jerk for telling my sister that she shouldn't have had a baby if she was not prepared to try and take care of it? Because right now, she is furious that I will not be able to help her anymore, as me and my family will be moving away. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my sister and I live about an hour away from each other. She had a baby 4 months ago, and the father, who is her ex-boyfriend of 7 years, left as soon as he found out that she was pregnant. He was a man-child and made it clear that he didn't want anything serious, despite dating her so long. I kept telling her to leave because she always wanted a family and he clearly didn't, and clearly wouldn't have taken responsibility for one. Then she got pregnant and decided to keep it as she was getting older and scared that she wouldn't be able to conceive. Well, she had the baby and had to go right back to work. She never made very much, and her work only let her take FMLA leave for about a month, as she didn't have enough money. She also hasn't taken the father to court despite my insistence that she does, because she cannot afford daycare for her daughter. So now she works from 4 o'clock until 12 o'clock p.m. But I work until 5 o'clock p.m. but from home, so she drops off her baby before going to work. It's distracting from my work, and her daughter has a hard time going to bed and cries pretty much throughout the entire night. My children are sick of it, and so is my husband and I. Hardly anybody can go to bed until she shows up and picks up her kid at 1 in the morning. My children even had to study in the basement as it was quieter. I've told her to move closer, but she hasn't yet, and I really feel like she's making me into the husband that walked out on her in her life. Well, my husband is moving for his fellowship, and I let her know about a week ago that we will be leaving in 2 months. She and I have had this routine for 3 months now, and her daughter is 4 months old. So I let her know she has 2 months to find another method of finding care for her daughter. Well, when I said that, she got mad and accused me of leaving because I didn't want to help anymore, and that my husband could go alone. I got mad when she said I should prioritize her over my family, and pointed out that I'd been helping her for 3 months, and it was affecting my work and my children's schooling. She then started crying and yelling that I wasn't being fair, and it was only because her ex walked out on her life. I said she knew the father would leave, and I had been pointing out that he was not going to be a good father since they were dating. She knew it, and her friends also begged her to leave, so if she wanted a child, she should not have stayed. I said that she brought this on herself, and she should not have children with a father she knew was useless, and she knew she didn't have the money to take care of a child. She yelled at me saying I was saying that her daughter shouldn't exist, but when she said that, I just left and drove home. She probably cannot find childcare and pay for it, but I feel like I'm now her crutch. Even when we were younger, she relied on me a lot, and I feel like it's better that I just leave and she figures it out. So honestly, am I the jerk in this scenario? What should I do? Honestly, I really feel bad for your sister because she's in a tight spot, and the one person she could rely on is suddenly moving away. So I really do take her complaints with a grain of salt, because she probably has literally no one to help her out with this child. Which, by the way, yes, it is her own fault, but also that is really a tough situation. Like, I can only imagine what that must feel like to literally have nobody else to look to try and help you figure out this situation. And it's not like you didn't warn her that this would happen. Like, you did say straight up, hey, he's not gonna stick around if you get pregnant. Like, you really did try to give her some kind of warning for her to prep her life in some kind of way, but she ignored it and still had a child. And there's nothing wrong with having kids, but in my opinion, if you're not able to take care of those kids, then you definitely should not be having them. So no, I don't think you're the jerk. I think this really is just a sad situation for your sister, and I really hope she's able to figure this out sooner than later. My wife has gone off the religious deep end, and it is now drastically impacting our relationship, and I now feel so lost, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so for a bit of context, we've been married for 3 years and have been together for 8 years in total. Before getting married, it was important to make sure that we were compatible on on some bigger questions. I don't follow any scripture-based religion or a personal God, and would probably align closest towards atheism, and that has always been the case. My wife was raised Christian, and while she believed in God and all that other stuff, she didn't feel obligated to go to church all the time or take all of that too literally. For example, she confirmed with me that she believed in evolution and stuff like that, which to me really was a relief. A key point here is that she did not want kids at all, and was vehement about that. With this as our basis and future plan, we decided to get married. I have always been comfortable to let people hold their own beliefs as long as it does not impact me now or in the future. So we get married, and about 9 months ago, I noticed my wife is starting to go to church regularly and has become more judgmental and focused on nonsense US talking points. For reference, we are not American. She then starts making jokes about wanting a baby. Her whole personality changed suddenly. She was a quiet and relaxed artsy girl, and now seems to be more snarky and highly conservative. She got so offended watching Darren Brown on TV that we had to switch it off. A few more months pass by, and my wife has clearly heavily fallen under the influence. Her friends are solely people from the church. All she listens to are religious podcasts and music. She wanted me to go to church with her every single week, and her phone is a screensaver of a cross, while mine is us getting married. Her only hobby is going to church, and when I brought up the idea that our lives were getting boring and that it may be good to find a new hobby or something like that, all she could come up with were church activities, and she became furious when I suggested that maybe she should be doing something non-religious. Now, all of a sudden, she feels the desperate need for me to open my heart to God and to save our marriage, as if I was the one who was actively changing. She threatened divorce if I did not convert within 2 months, and she had material ready for me to read and watch. Now, I told her that I would go through the material, but that there was no chance of me converting, that it was all stuff I encountered before being raised in a Christian environment too. I believe that she became born again during this period. So I went through the material, and by the end of the 2 months, she had settled down and seemed to accept that I won't change. She doesn't seem to truly believe that I've opened my heart, as she thinks that I would have 100% converted if I did. I try to explain to her that it's easier for her to convert to another religion than it is for me to become a Christian. Now, the baby talk is increasing, regardless of me stating that I do not want to have kids. She is regularly hinting at babies, and bear in mind, she no longer believes in evolution, and she believes in demons and possessions, which is very alarming for me. She has stated that the child will have to be raised under her religion and will be going to church every week. She also doesn't think that I should reveal my beliefs, and this is weirdly at odds with her idea of the man being the head of the house, which seems to only relate to paying for stuff, which is another thing that appeared during this period. Now, to be clear, there is a 0% chance of me having children with her. But how long do I sit this out? I mean, could this just be a phase? Will I ever get back the woman that I fell in love with and married back in the day? Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Wow, the way your wife is acting is seriously insane. Here's the thing, if you want to be religious, that's totally fine. But for her entire personality to switch pretty much overnight, and for her to do a giant 180 on all the things that you thought you were in agreement for, in my opinion, is not normal. Like, her priorities are completely mixed up, and she's not considering you in this equation in the slightest. So to that end, I think it's a really good idea that you don't have any kids with this lady. She does not sound stable, and seriously, that sounds like a nightmare if you did have kids with her. But here's the thing that in my opinion is like the biggest red flag, and this to me is a massive deal breaker, even though it's really unfortunate. She threatened to divorce you if you didn't join her religion in 2 months. That for me is seriously absolutely uncalled for, and I would not put up with that for a second. So truly, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this, and I really hope it gets better, because the way your wife is acting is not normal, and I think for your sake, it really would be a good idea to be careful moving forward. Today, I messed up by proposing to my girlfriend, resulting in her second-guessing her entire relationship with me, and then finally breaking up with me. And I honestly feel really stupid for initiating this in the first place, and I now seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So as the title suggests, I proposed to my girlfriend of just under 2 years last week. Now, she was surprised, but she said yes. For reference, we're both 21 years old. We both told our families and talked more about it on the way back to our apartment, which was about a 2-hour drive. After we got back, we told our families, and it all seemed good. But problems happened when she got really anxious. We haven't had any major issues before. Even the few arguments that we have, they have all been very minor and quickly resolved. So she gets this massive knot in her stomach and goes home for a week. Well, once she gets back, we talk talk a lot about how she isn't ready to be engaged and had just not been 100% in, and just that she had been comfortable. The day after, we talk some more, and then boom, she is breaking up with me and says it isn't my fault. She says stuff like she just doesn't want to hurt me more and can't make a promise if she isn't 100%. We talked more this weekend, and she said she isn't willing to go to a relationship counselor or anything like that to try and narrow down the holdup, just to see if we can salvage anything. I don't think that she was looking for a reason to break up or think it's anything like that. We had talked about engagement as well as the future a bunch, and it just seemed right. Her parents were fully supportive of me asking her, and I feel dumb for shaking things up. We had both been content and very happy. What frustrates me the most is just how wrong I was, and how not once when we were talking about stuff did it seem like she wasn't 100% in. I thought we were all in, and we moved in together and had been doing great from what I could tell. So now I'm looking for another place to stay because I was too dumb to realize my near perfect relationship wasn't ready. That I caused a breakup by proposing and causing us both to think about the future and us a lot more than we probably should have. And I'm now seriously unsure of what to do. So honestly, it doesn't seem like the problem is with you at all. If anything, it really seems like your girlfriend is just not ready to get married. Like you were all in. You felt like, yes, this feels right. Let's pursue this head on and have a life together or something like that. But she clearly was not feeling the same way. And honestly, with all things considered, this is probably a really good thing to figure out right about now. So I don't fault her at all for saying no. Like, I think that's a very smart and mature thing to do, but I do think it's completely inappropriate for you to be hard on yourself for ever trying to assume that you somehow broke up this relationship. Because in this scenario, I definitely do not think that falls on you in the slightest. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.